Congratulations, Mayor Mamdani. Isn't that fun to say? Zohran just proved that it doesn't matter how much money they throw at you. Organized people will defeat organized money if you stand for real change. And that's the key. Because it's not about his social media prowess. It's not about some campaign tactics. All of that was only possible because he stood for real, bold change. And that's what we're doing here in San Francisco. Because yes, our campaign is about actually stopping Trump's authoritarian coup.
Zohran Mamdani has just made history, becoming New York City's first Muslim and youngest mayor in over a century. His victory marks a major moment for Indian-origin progressives in the U.S. But as the East Coast celebrates Mamdani's breakthrough, the spotlight now shifts to the West, to San Francisco, where Saikat Chakrabarti, another Indian American, is challenging Nancy Pelosi, the Democratic giant who's held her seat for nearly 4 decades. So who is Saikat Chakrabarti? What does he stand for? And could he be the next Mamdani, the next face of Indian American progressive politics? Let's find out. Saikat Chakrabarti is running against Nancy Pelosi, the former U.S. House Speaker, to represent San Francisco in Congress. Pelosi, now 85, is seeking her 21st term in office. Chakrabarti launched his campaign in February 2025, pledging to bring fresh energy and progressive reform to a party he believes has lost touch with working Americans.
Running for Congress against Nancy Pelosi here in San Francisco. My name's Saikat Chakrabarti, and I wanted to do a quick campaign update to tell y'all how things are going. I'm running on things like universal health care and universal child care. I'm also running to end corruption in our government. We gotta ban members of Congress from owning and trading stocks. We gotta ban the revolving door between Congress and the lobbying industry. And I'm also running to get rid of money in politics for real. We gotta move towards a publicly financed campaign election system. I'm also running to tackle the extreme wealth and income inequality in our society. We got to make sure the rich pay their fair share of taxes.
Born to Indian parents, Chakrabarti studied computer science at Harvard University before beginning his career as a software engineer. But soon he shifted gears, leaving tech behind to pursue progressive politics. His career trajectory reflects a rare blend of intellect, ideology, and insurgent activism. Chakrabarti first came into the national spotlight during Bernie Sanders' 2016 presidential campaign, where he helped shape the campaign's digital and grassroots strategy. In 2017, he co-founded Justice Democrats, a movement that recruited and supported progressive candidates across the United States. One of their biggest victories, the 2018 win of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, now a leading figure in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Chakrabarti served as her chief of staff in 2019, crafting policies and messaging that helped define a new era of left-wing politics. On his campaign website, Chakrabarti describes Pelosi as a fighter who joined Congress in 1987, but claims she no longer understands the anti-democratic and anti-constitutional forces facing America today. At her age, he writes, she no longer has the strength for the current fight. It's a bold, even risky challenge to one of the most powerful figures in U.S. politics. In his self-introduction video on X, Chakrabarti says he moved to San Francisco in 2009 because he's always been in love with the idea of the city. He calls it his home, a place where progressive ideals and innovation meet, and says he spent over a decade working to advance those values nationwide. Listen to
Running for Congress against Nancy Pelosi here in San Francisco. My name's Saikat Chakrabarti, and I wanted to do a quick campaign update to tell y'all how things are going. I moved out to San Francisco in 2009, about a year after college, pretty much the first chance I got, because I've always been in love with the idea of the city. I've worked in progressive politics for the past decade or so. I worked on Bernie's 2016 campaign, and I started a group called Justice Democrats right after that, which recruited progressive candidates all across the country to run for Congress. One of the people we recruited was AOC, and I ended up running her campaign in 2018, and then I went and worked as her chief of staff in Congress, where I was in charge of writing and launching the Green New Deal. I'm running on things like universal health care and universal child care. I'm also running to end corruption in our government. We gotta ban members of Congress from owning and trading stocks. We gotta ban the revolving door between Congress and the lobbying industry. And I'm also running to get rid of money in politics for real. We gotta move towards a publicly financed campaign election system. I'm also running to tackle the extreme wealth and income inequality in our society. We got to make sure the rich pay their fair share of taxes. We've also got to invest in high-wage, high-value industries all across the country to make America the green global industrial powerhouse, to be a part of this green transition that's happening with or without us right now. Everything I just talked about there is extremely popular all across the country. It all polls at above 50%. We just don't have the political will to make it happen. So I believe we need a movement of people to go into Congress, to take over the Democratic Party and completely change it and make this stuff actually get passed. And that's exactly what I'm doing with my campaign right now. I'm recruiting people to run all across the country, and I've already talked to dozens of people who are interested in joining this movement. And this campaign right now has incredible momentum. We've already raised over $100,000. I've got about 1,000 people who signed up to volunteer for this campaign. And I've talked to hundreds of people on these Zoom calls all across San Francisco, because I'm taking no corporate or lobbyist money in this campaign. I'm spending all my days talking to voters in San Francisco instead of talking to corporations and big dollar donors. So go to the link in my bio and sign up for a Zoom call with me today, or sign up to volunteer on my website. We can win this thing, but it's going to take all of us.
Chakrabarti's campaign arrives on the heels of a wave of South Asian political momentum, led by Zohran Mamdani's historic New York victory. As the youngest and first Muslim mayor in the city's modern history, Mamdani's win symbolizes a new era of representation and reform. Now, on the opposite coast, Chakrabarti is channeling that same spirit, challenging the establishment and reimagining what the Democratic Party could be. From New York to San Francisco, Indian-origin leaders like Mamdani and Chakrabarti are defining the next chapter of American politics. For more such stories and global explainers, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Indian Express on YouTube.